Let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ben's MicroVision Podcast, a podcast for general information and entertainment purposes only, not a financial advice podcast. In this episode, we're going to focus on the military segment, take a look at some new developments with the company, and see what it might mean for us. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please do go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Help me propagate this information out to more people, and I promise I'll give you the very best effort I can each week so you have the best MicroVision related information out there. Thanks again. All right, welcome to Ben's MicroVision Podcast. This is episode 24, titled Aerial Systems Team, presented by myself and brought to you by LaserRoasted.com, my specialty coffee company. One cup and you'll say, make mine laser roasted. Okay, if you're new, welcome again, and this is a disclaimer that is here to tell you that even though I used to work for MicroVision, I no longer do, and I'm not representing them in this capacity. Nothing that you see here is investment advice or any other kind of advice. Information is presented on a best effort basis. It's possible that mistakes could be made, and any decisions that you make as a result of watching the show or anywhere else in your life are your responsibility and not mine. All right, look at this. It's the first press release of the Glenn DeVos as CEO era, and it states MicroVision establishes new aerial systems team and Virginia office to support defense. MicroVision Inc., a technology pioneer delivering advanced perception solutions in autonomy and mobility, today announced the company's new aerial systems team has established an office, testing facilities, and an airstrip in the greater D.C. area to further MicroVision's strategic expansion into the defense tech industry and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, or ISR, sector. We're happy to see our new aerial systems team get up and running and establish design and testing facilities in Northern Virginia, said Glenn DeVos, MicroVision's Chief Executive Officer. This small team of experts with deep experience in aeronautical engineering, avionics, UAS development, and related software is accelerating the development of our Lidar-based perception systems for drones, unmanned guided vehicles, and mobile autonomous vehicles. Our solid-state Lidar imaging and advanced perception software offer an unrivaled drone-agnostic solution for a broad range of ISR, mapping, and other defense applications. The MicroVision Defense Advisory Board is deeply committed to this world-class team and their game-changing technology development taking place right here in D.C., the epicenter of defense innovation and procurement, said Brian Hibblem, MicroVision Defense Advisory Board member. This strategic location positions us to rapidly demonstrate capabilities and execute critical flight testing with our most important partners and collaborators. This technology is poised to become an essential operational asset for enhancing safety and mission success across the entire defense enterprise. Over the course of this year, MicroVision's narrative has evolved with regards to defense. It started at the beginning of the year with the conference call narrative, where Sumit reminded shareholders and everybody listening about the company's extensive experience in the defense industry, listing every single contract that we had undertaken over the course of the last 30 years. And culminating in the statement, the company was founded for this segment. So powerful stuff, establishing, again, our bona fides and experience in the space. The next step in the narrative evolution was the Defense Industry Advisory Board being assembled, including, of course, Dr. Scott Goldstein, who's on the Anduril Advisory Board as well and the former chief scientist at Anduril. The next step was the announcement of the drone swarm demonstrator, whereby MicroVision's technology would be embedded onto multiple drones to help them coordinate and communicate and map areas collectively, and now culminating here with the aerial systems team in the Northern Virginia office. This is going to provide not just a demonstration or a prototype or look, we made a thing. It's an operational capability and a geographic presence. So now, if we have customers or partners that we wish to engage who are in the DC area, which is where all these defense contractors are, as well as, of course, the Pentagon, we'll be right there. Come on down, take a look at what we've got. And we could expect the next step, hopefully, to be a website, to be branding, to be positioning beyond safe mobility at the speed of life. Because now we're talking about reconnaissance, intelligence, surveillance, and these kinds of things. So that's not safe mobility at the speed of life. It's something else, right? Somebody on the message board says safe mobility at the speed of death, which I thought was funny, but I think that that's probably not going to be what they go with. And then demo footage, like let's bring it to life. We've got these drones happening with the MicroVision Lidar enabled sensing systems. What's it going to be? It's going to be fantastic. Let's see it. Through the amazing power of LinkedIn, we're able to find these 4 gentlemen working on software and avionics for MicroVision. David Neal as Principal Aeronautical Engineer, John Chu as Principal Avionics Software Engineer, Brian Capozzi as Manager Software and Avionics, and Zach Vavrek as Principal Avionics Engineer. All right, so let's overlay the aerial systems team with the Defense Advisory Group members that are located in the Washington, D.C. area. Now you've got Scott Goldstein and Brian Hibblin, very experienced and knowledgeable executive level people, helping to steer the output of the work by these talented engineers and developers in the avionics industry. So if you add it up, you've got MicroVision's Lidar, the perception software, and kind of the core capability. You've now got this new team that's going to take the core capability and build on top of it so that it suits the aeronautical market. And you've got this executive level management that's going to help coordinate what the team's building, why they're building it, for whom they're building it, and what's the market opportunity for it so that it all fits together. This announcement is the first official establishment of a defense-focused division within MicroVision, establishing an organizational footprint. It's not a demonstrator, it's not a project, it's not a side hustle, it's an office, testing facilities, an airstrip, and a dedicated team. So this means the company means business in the defense segment. It's a hard operational move. It's not happy talk, okay? But the positioning is now moved towards sensing, perception, and edge autonomy for national defense, supporting intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance applications. It's a geographic signal which will give the company access to the Department of War and the intelligence procurement decision makers by being proximal to them. It's going to give them symbolic credibility, which is, of course, this is where companies that are serious about operating in this space reside. And here's our office. And for my part, it's fantastic that there's now a MicroVision office on the East Coast of the United States. Listen to how the technology is framed. Lidar-based perception systems for drones, unmanned guided vehicles, and mobile autonomous vehicles, and drone-agnostic solution for ISR mapping and other defense applications. These statements position MicroVision as an enabler layer, a perception stack provider for any platform. We're going to prove it in avionics. We're going to demonstrate the value with drones, but the same technology capability can be applied elsewhere in the DoD. And the other thing I thought was worth pointing out is the language from Brian Hibblin is procurement language. He's talking about essential operational assets for enhancing safety and mission success across the defense enterprise, positioning MicroVision as mission critical, not experimental. So you add it up, and it's a pretty significant move, and it's, of course, the first move of the Glenn DeVos era, and so it should have an extra significance. At Laser Roasted Jerky, the name's bold, but the flavor's even bolder. We take premium cuts of meat, season them slow, and roast them to perfection for that just right chew and deep smoky taste. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just real jerky made the right way, protein packed and ready for wherever your day takes you. Laser Roasted Jerky. Turn up the flavor, not the fiction. So I'm sure the guys have thought of this already, but I would certainly encourage them to get a few of the IVAS 1.2 helmet-mounted displays at this new DC office and couple them with these drones that are going to be doing this mapping, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance capability, and demonstrate how the feed from the drone can be brought back to the soldier to make the soldier safer, more effective, know what's over the hill, and all of this. And as a company, what a powerful statement, right? Our technology includes Lidar and perception to make the forward drone more capable. It also provides the soldier the safety and situational awareness via laser beam scanning technology in the form of the SBMC surrogate systems, etc. So this connection, this synergy between the two use cases of LiDAR mapping and laser beam scanning for situational awareness for the soldier is very powerful, and there's no other company that can do this. So let's lean in. Speaking of laser beam scanning, this was posted on LinkedIn about a month ago by a guy named Yanni Valerine, who is a metaverse and AI strategist. Juha Salmi shows use cases for HoloLens 3, which is coming up in a few months' time. #Rails ahead. And there is a presentation slide presented by Juha Salmi, who works for Microsoft. And it says Microsoft HoloLens in surgery, 3D visualization in surgery, remote surgical collaboration, integration with medical systems, AI-enhanced surgical teamwork. And it shows a form factor that we have not seen before. This is the official Microsoft font and all this. Now, before you throw tomatoes at the screen and say Microsoft said they weren't going to make any more hardware, yeah, that's true. But then what's this? So I don't really know too much about this guy. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, so if I'm making a mistake, forgive me. Juha Salmi, Senior Account Executive at Microsoft in Finland. He's presenting in Finland about a HoloLens 3. And so who can believe it? Of course, this tweet was posted by Palmer Luckey on April 1. Take that for what it's worth. Should I write a review of HoloLens 3? This is, of course, after he had taken over the HoloLens and IVAS contract from Microsoft, taken all of the mixed reality engineering team and made them members of Anduril, and post this tweet. And you can see Jeff Porter and SMR with their responses patiently waiting. I think everybody's patiently waiting for some understanding of why Palmer came to the Reddit board of MicroVision and declared his belief in MicroVision technology. Sure would be nice to see some follow-up there. All right, going back to drones, here's an article that came out today, exclusive. U.S. Army to buy 1 million drones in major acquisition ramp-up. And there is President Trump with the U.S. Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll here in North Carolina. The U.S. Army aims to buy at least 1 million drones in the next 2 to 3 years and could acquire anywhere from 500,000 drones to millions of them annually in the years that follow, U.S. Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll said. Driscoll detailed the major ramp-up in the Army's drone acquisition plan in an interview with Reuters, acknowledging the challenges, given that the biggest branch of the U.S. military acquires only about 50,000 drones annually today. So that is a 20-fold increase. It is a big lift, but it is a lift we're very capable of doing, Driscoll said. With a $1 trillion budget, you can buy a lot of drones. He spoke by phone during a visit to Picatinny Arsenal, where he described learning about experimentation with net rounds, defenses that capture a drone in nets, as well as new explosives and electromagnetic tools synced into weapon systems. Driscoll and Picatinny's top commander, Major General John Rime, spoke to Reuters about how the United States was taking lessons from Russia's war in Ukraine, which have been characterized by drone deployments on an unprecedented scale. Tiny, inexpensive drones have proven to be one of the most potent weapons in the Russia-Ukraine war, where conventional warplanes are relatively rare because of a dense concentration of anti-aircraft systems near front lines. Ukraine and Russia each produce roughly 4 million drones a year, but China is probably able to produce more than double that number, Driscoll said. Driscoll said his priority is getting the United States into a position where it can produce enough drones for any future war, stimulating domestic production of everything from brushless motors and sensors to batteries and circuit boards. Much of that manufacturing is dominated by China today. We expect to purchase at least 1 million drones within the next 2 to 3 years, Driscoll said. And we expect that at the end of 1 or 2 years from today, we will know that in a moment of conflict, we will be able to activate a supply chain that is robust enough and deep enough that we could activate to manufacture however many drones we would need. Driscoll said he fundamentally wanted to change how the Army saw drones, more like expendable ammunition rather than exquisite piece of equipment. The Pentagon is trying to overcome a mixed track record on acquiring drones. In 2023, Pentagon leaders announced the Replicator Initiative, a department-wide effort to acquire and field thousands of autonomous drones by August 2025. However, it has not provided an update on the current status of the program. In July, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth signed a memo in which he said he was rescinding restrictive policies that had impacted drone production. Reuters has reported that the Pentagon's DOGE unit is leading efforts to overhaul the U.S. military drone program, including acquiring tens of thousands of cheap drones in the coming months. U.S. lawmakers have introduced legislation that would direct the Pentagon to create a facility in Texas that could build up to 1 million drones a year. But Driscoll said his aim was to spread funding and not rely on a single production facility. Instead of partnering with larger defense companies, he said the Army wanted to work with companies that were producing drones that could have commercial applications as well. We want to partner with other drone manufacturers who are using them for Amazon deliveries and all the different use cases, he said. Chinese imports account for the vast majority of U.S. commercial drone sales. More than half come from DJI, the world's largest drone manufacturer. Driscoll said he was confident there was enough funding for the increased drone needs, and the Army has already been moving to divest from some older weapon systems. Funding decisions often require buy-in from lawmakers, who are often hesitant to cut weapons programs benefiting their own districts. Drones are the future of warfare, and we've got to invest in both the offensive and defensive capabilities against them, Driscoll said. Take note of the inclusion of the word sensors in that last article, describing a massive 20-fold increase in drone manufacturing capability. These drones all need sensors to function. If MicroVision can establish its Lidar and perception sensing capability as significantly value added to the drone function, there could be an opportunity there.
Russia and Ukraine is proving drone warfare is at the next stage of frontline fighting. However, leading tech and military experts warn that the U.S. isn't prepared. And while the Pentagon has awarded several contracts in order to speed up drone development, there's been no wide-scale plan revealed on how they'll be integrated, taught, deployed in operations. Retired Air Force Brigadier General John Teichert joins us this morning to weigh in. So, General, wonderful to have you as always. You know, it sounds like America is behind the times on this one. What's your take overall?
Kelly, back in May, the Army announced this thing called the Army Transformation Initiative. They had spent 3 years extensively studying what was going on in Ukraine. They had conducted a large-scale exercise in Europe, and they reshaped the force, at least in notion, from the bottom up as a result of that. And one of the biggest findings was that in the next year, the Army is going to incorporate 1,000 smaller drones into each division and create the industrial capacity of about 10,000 drones a month. The challenge is, how do you incorporate those into tactics, techniques, and procedures? I think the Army has a plan for that based on those exercises and findings. But really, the biggest challenges exist in how do you acquire and procure those drones, and how do you create the industrial capacity within the United States using U.S. and allied parts in order to create 10,000 small drones a month for the United States Army.
So 10,000 drones a month is 120,000 drones. And the Secretary of the Army is saying 1 million drones in a year. So that's 8 times more.
Yeah, and those are important questions to answer, critical, really. You know, how much does this gap expose us to threats? Do you believe it does?
Kelly, certainly we have seen that in the type of trench stalemated warfare that Ukraine has experienced for the better part of the last 3.5 years, that these smaller range, smaller payload drones can have a large effect on surveillance and reconnaissance, on precision strike capability, and maybe some light airlift. So I do think that we aren't cutting edge in that type of warfare as much as we should be. And the biggest limitation, like I said, is creating domestic industrial capacity in order to produce the number of drones that we would need for that type of warfare in the future.
We need domestic capacity for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance drones on the order of 10,000 per month or 80,000 per month, depending on who you ask. And they all have to be made in America. And they all need to have sensing capability.
Do you believe the government is on the right track here? Is there anything additional you would suggest to speed up this process?
Kelly, the biggest things that we need are breaking down some regulatory barriers that exist in big bureaucracies, and then streamlining the acquisition and procurement process, and then finding ways to convince American companies to produce these drones. Normally, when there's a requirement and money behind that requirement, then you'll see American companies fill the gap. But there are components to the drones that currently are being produced in America that are still being produced in places like China, and we need the entire supply chain to be indigenous to the United States. Otherwise, we face severe challenges of that supply chain being cut off by an adversary.
Not just the drone itself, but every single component inside the drone needs to be made in America, and that would include the sensing capability.
Oh, right, especially in times of crisis. So when we do consider drones, it's a fascinating topic, how, the landscape is changing now militarily. What does the future look like for American soldiers?
Kelly, I think this combination of manned-machine teaming is on the right track, and that means that you create a force like I think the Army Transformation Initiative has done in concept, where you use the best components of what a human being can do and allow them to team with machines that can do best what machines can do. And if we find the right mix of capabilities, concepts of operations, and then tactics, techniques, and procedures that incorporate that manned machine teaming, then now we have a force for the future going forward that will sustain us to meet our American objectives.
Man-machine teaming with drones sounds a lot like this drone soldier synergy that I was putting forward just a little bit earlier in the show. And there's only one company that can create this exact scenario with made in America parts for both sensing and for laser beam scanning projection display. And that's our favorite company. In other news, MicroVision hired a new vice president of sales and business development. His name's Fraser McMahon. Fraser McMahon is your vice president, global sales and business development at MicroVision, located in Detroit. And what's Fraser McMahon's background? He's been working with OEM customers across the automotive, agricultural, and building services industries, proven track record to accelerate results through full P&L ownership, complex negotiations, and strengthening market presence, passionate about enabling individuals, teams, and organizations to reach their full potential while advancing global sustainability. So welcome, Fraser McMahon. Wonderful to have an experienced guy that's going to run sales for the company. It's great that he's in Detroit because that's where Ford and GM are. So hopefully he's going to be able to get MicroVision over the line here. The hiring of Fraser McMahon was reported on in detail in this case study in strategic leadership acquisition, securing global sales excellence for a technology pioneer in autonomous mobility. Cohen Partners, the executive search firm that was retained by MicroVision to find the VP of Sales and Business Development, wrote this article describing the need for this new resource and the story about how he arrived there, which is kind of unbelievable. MicroVision had a problem. The NASDAQ-listed pioneer in MEMS-based laser beam scanning technology had world-class technology but couldn't convert it into sustainable revenue growth. The previous executive search firm had struck out completely. They needed someone who could walk into the autonomous vehicle and industrial automation markets and immediately start opening doors, specifically doors at Tier 1 automotive suppliers and OEMs. Following an unsuccessful search engagement elsewhere, they engaged Cohen Partners Executive Search. What followed was one of the most complex searches we've managed, navigating a CEO transition mid-search, pivoting strategy multiple times, and ultimately placing a seasoned global automotive executive with the exact relationships and expertise MicroVision needed, 4 months from start to finish, despite significant organizational disruption. Founded in 1993 and headquartered in Redmond, Washington, MicroVision operates at the intersection of several high-growth technology sectors. Their proprietary technology integrates MEMS, lasers, optics, hardware, algorithms, and machine learning software to deliver advanced perception solutions. The company's primary focus is automotive and autonomous vehicles, where its Lidar sensors enable advanced driver assistance systems and autonomous driving applications. Their Maven-N and Movia-L sensor platforms provide critical capabilities for object detection, classification, and tracking. They also serve robotics and industrial automation, smart infrastructure, and IoT markets. MicroVision had positioned itself strategically within the autonomous mobility ecosystem under new leadership, which began in February 2020. Assume it. The technology was there. The market opportunity was there. However, they faced a significant challenge converting technological capabilities into revenue growth, particularly in establishing the critical partnerships with automotive OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers necessary for commercial success. In the autonomous vehicle technology sector, first-mover advantages and strategic partnerships often determine long-term market positioning. MicroVision's window was closing. That's all very dramatic. I would say of the first-mover partnerships that we've seen in the space, you can look at Volvo and Luminar. They have not amounted to all that much. There's BMW with the MVIS. It's on one vehicle in their whole lineup in one region. So, this is a very exciting way to phrase it winner takes all and you got to go now. But, the reality is the quality of the partnerships has not yet been there. Whether that's the OEM's fault or anything else, what we have not seen is Lidar adoption in a mass market kind of a way, or any real significant kind of way outside of China. So, take Cohen Partners' article here with a grain of salt. MicroVision's sales leadership capabilities had proven insufficient to capitalize on the substantial market opportunities at hand. That's a tough sentence. They needed a vice president of global sales and business development with very specific expertise, technology-driven industrial and automotive sales environments, established relationships with automotive OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers, demonstrated capability in managing complex multi-year contract negotiations, and experience scaling sales operations within emerging technology markets. The urgency was real. Competitive pressures within the Lidar and autonomous vehicle technology sectors were intensifying. Their board and executive leadership recognized that delays in securing appropriate sales leadership could result in missed opportunities and diminished competitive standing. Making matters worse, their previous executive search firm had failed to produce viable candidates. They needed a strategic reset and a partner capable of delivering superior results within an accelerated time frame. Wow, what a backdrop. Then everything changed. MicroVision's CEO was terminated during the candidate evaluation phase. Interview activities were suspended for 3 weeks while the organization addressed leadership transition requirements, meaning, making sure this is going to be Glenn's guy. This kind of disruption kills most searches. We managed to avoid that outcome through extensive strategic consultation with MicroVision's board leadership, reassessing candidate requirements in alignment with evolving organizational priorities, meaning Glenn's priorities. More importantly, through proactive communication and relationship management, we preserved the viability of the candidate pool during this period of organizational uncertainty. The executive we placed, which is Fraser McMahon, brought over 3 decades of experience in the automotive industry, spanning OEMs, Tier 1 suppliers, and emerging technology companies. His unique combination of international market experience, established OEM relationships, and expertise in emerging technology sectors aligned precisely with MicroVision's strategic requirements. At the time of placement, he was serving as Vice President of Global Sales at SK On, managing approximately $3.5 billion? Managing approximately $3.5 billion in annual revenue, while leading a global team of 75 professionals across North America and Europe. His track record included securing multi-year contracts valued between $400 million and $800 million annually with premier automotive manufacturers, including Ford, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Ferrari, and Polestar. Those weren't just numbers on a resume, those were real relationships with decision makers at the exact companies MicroVision needed to reach. Welcome, Fraser McMahon. That's awesome. Let's get $400 million. His experience encompassed both established automotive markets and emerging technology sectors. He had founded and scaled an electric vehicle chassis business unit from inception to $50 million in revenue, including integration of ADAS-related systems in partnership with Bosch, providing direct relevance to MicroVision's market positioning and partnership strategy. The placement addressed MicroVision's critical need for sales leadership that can have an immediate impact within target markets. The executives established relationships, provided direct access to the decision makers. His demonstrated expertise in emerging technology commercialization, particularly within the electric vehicle and autonomous driving sectors, positioned MicroVision to capitalize on market opportunities with enhanced credibility and strategic focus. His experience managing complex multi-billion-dollar negotiations provided the sophistication necessary for the high-stakes partnership that defines success within the autonomous vehicle technology sector. What a deal. Amazing to peel back the curtain a little bit and hear what was going on at the company. The board recognized that sales were not where they needed to be, and they made an effort to go and find an executive to lead sales. That effort failed. They ultimately held Sumit accountable, and then they brought in Glenn, and now Glenn has his guy, Frazier, who regularly books $400 to $800 million in revenue. This is fantastic. I'm so happy that we have a new leader who knows what to do, knows how to talk to these guys, and has a track record of excellence in the space. And I'm happy it's Glenn's guy, and he doesn't get a holdover who he didn't hand select that maybe he doesn't, jibe with. So this is all very encouraging stuff, even if it's a tough pill to recognize that the previous administration wasn't quite getting it done. So I guess you could summarize it like the board of directors has high expectations for converting MicroVision's technological excellence and edge into sales, revenue, partnerships, and everything that we need to really get the ball rolling and become more sustainable. So, even though it's painful to get here, it's encouraging that the board has taken the reins. It's encouraging that we now have a CEO and a sales leader who have generated billions of dollars themselves. So they understand the process and the methodology, and they know what to do. And so I think it's a new day. I guess that's the bottom line. Between a new aerial systems team with the backdrop of 1 million drones a year that need to be all made in America with every component, and we're going to be proving out the value of a Lidar and perception system in a drone swarm or on an individual drone. This is wonderful. The new team members look terrific. The defense board, these guys are amazing. So, if you have great technology and great people and experienced people who have relationships and know process and methodology, it should grease the skids and we should be on our way. So I would encourage everybody to put aside for a minute the pain of the path to get here and say, if this was day one, what would you think about the opportunity space ahead? At least that's how I think about it. So you can think about it however you want, and that's totally great. But from my perspective, great technology paired with experienced leadership and really innovative, strong human resources working on this stuff, it should add up to something good for the people who own the company, which is you and me, I think. So we'll see. So that's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Thank you for subscribing to the show. Thank you for commenting. Please comment here on the YouTube channel. Then it gets picked up and it helps propagate the show out to more people. And that's wonderful. And I do my very best to respond to every comment, good, bad, or indifferent. So thanks again. And thank you for shopping on Laser Roasted. It's possible to buy coffee for less money than Laser Roasted. I recognize that. But it's not possible to buy coffee for less money than Laser Roasted that's roasted to order and delivered to you at the peak of freshness. So please check it out. Check out the jerky. People love it. And it helps the show. So if you want to help the show, you want to have some delicious jerky and the freshest coffee ever, go to Laser Roasted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next weekend.